Thanks, Surbhi. And we have, you've heard the great things Nikesh has accomplished over his career. And we all know that he's done some major transformations at Palo Alto Networks. He's really platformized cybersecurity, which is so important in the world of AI. For every threat, there's a software company that has a solution. So that's a huge transformation to bring it all together. I think the second thing that he's done, which all shareholders love, is the fact that he's quadrupled the shareholder value for Palo Alto Networks. So we are really thrilled that he has accepted and will accept our TiE Transformational Leadership Award. Here's Nikesh. And to give this award is none other than one who understands shareholder value, Jagdeep Singh Bachar. Middle.
Do I say a few things?
Yes, please, okay, please say.
It's impossible to see all of you standing here.
Work for him.
But when you're giving an award, I guess it's most important to see Nikesh from where you're sitting right now. Good morning. Nikesh is not a stranger in the world of Silicon Valley, but I had my first experience to sort of sit next to him in a round table, and the first impression I got of him was he's very straightforward and very direct about his opinions and how he feels about things, and he speaks his mind. I think that's a very important trait that's required for a leader, and when you look at his background, particularly not for all of you that are experienced, but for the students and the young aspiring entrepreneurs in the room, how often do you get a chance to stand up here and say that you've led the way in an organization like Google and then gone to Japan with SoftBank, and in both organizations have had an exemplary impact, but also an incredible leadership role, and that's what Nikesh has done. And if you think that was enough, then as an outsider to be brought into what is now the largest cybersecurity company at Palo Alto Networks and bring fresh thinking and dynamism to change an organization at a time when a cybersecurity company has become a backbone for the world of technology. And even then, to go ahead and be disruptive at a time when you might think things should stay steady. That's the kind of leadership Nikesh has brought to his current role. And so, I mean, getting an award, I know is probably not something new for him because he's got a long line of them, including an honorary doctorate from Northeastern, I'm sorry. Having said that, I think what is most important I find about Nikesh is if you sit next to him or you look up to him or you are involved in an organization with him, he just inspires you as a leader. And so today, hopefully you can share with us your perspectives, but a heartfelt congratulations to you for making such an impact, but most importantly, having an impact on the younger generation, because when they look up to you, someday, hopefully some of them can grow up and be like Nikesh Arora. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So Shailesh Rao, President of Cortex Division of Palo Alto Networks, will be having a conversation with Nikesh Arora. Shailesh?
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. How are you? Good morning, Nikesh.
Morning, Shailesh.
Good morning.
Why aren't you at work?
I just go wherever my boss goes, Nikesh. Well, first of all, thank you, TiE. Thank you all. Great to see you all this morning. Great to be here, Nikesh, and spend some time with you. My name is Shailesh. I'm president of our Cortex division. I think Nikesh needs no introduction. I've had the fortune of working for Nikesh now for close to 10 years, both at Google and now at Palo Alto Networks. So it's really a distinct honor, Nikesh, to be able to do this. I do a lot of meetings with Nikesh, and for every meeting, I prepare a lot before I go to the meeting. And this is the first meeting where if I compare with my other meetings, I haven't prepared as much. So this could go great.
You've been preparing for 10 years.
So, Nikesh, let's start with your background. And I think I know you grew up in India, you were born in Ghaziabad, your dad was in the Air Force. And I think a lot of people in the audience will relate to the background that you experienced. So maybe we'll start with what seminal events from your growing up led to the leadership position that you're in. As you think about things that happened, were there events that you look back and say, those were big events that led me to where I am here now?
First of all, good morning, and thank you, Jagdeep, for all those wonderful things you said. Can I bring you everywhere with me? It would really help my cause and my credibility. And when I grow up, I aspire to dress like him. I looked at him, he was bright and early. He is the most spiffily dressed gentleman at this event today. So thank you for everything you said. And he is more accomplished in his own right than most of us. So I'm sort of, I wish it was the other way around, me giving him the award as opposed to this way. But the wonderful part of hindsight, Shailesh, is you can always romanticize the past. You can always go back and say, that's why I'm able to do this. I have no idea why anything happens in life based on what you did historically. I think one thing we can all relate to is our upbringing either inspires us to do something the way we were brought up, or you come back and say, that's one thing I'm never going to do based on what you saw.
Yes.
So, as you know, my father was in the Air Force, he was a lawyer, and one of the things that he inspired in me was always do the right thing and do it to the best of your ability and don't worry about the consequence. And you don't realize that when you're growing up, that you see your parents do certain things, it kind of like you naturally absorb it. And I have young kids, a 9-year-old, 8-year-old, and an older child, and you don't realize how much they pick up from just watching you, your behaviors. And I guess I picked up my father's behaviors growing up. Sometimes it's scary, but it's okay. And you realize that just speaking your mind, doing the right thing, and not worrying about consequences is a good thing. So one of those things, I guess, that was one of the seminal things.
That's impressive. I mean, I think we can all relate to that. My parents, the way my parents explained the integrity concept to me was, my dad always said that the softest pillow is a clear conscience. And he used to go to sleep within a few seconds, so do I. So either I have amazing pillows or I have a great
sleep in meetings.
So
what does that mean?
Sorry?
If I fall asleep in meetings, what does that mean?
That you're going to meetings with a clear conscience. That's what it means. And you
doesn't say anything about the other people.
Exactly. If they're sleeping, then they're also coming in with a clear conscience.
Got
so,
it.
What do we call it?
So
Clean slate. Let's start afresh. Let's go do a deep dive and start a new company from there.
Right.
Yeah. So Nikesh, as you look, so you talk about integrity, and now as your career progressed, those values that you learned growing up, which again I think all of us relate to, and we hear about it, we talk about it. I think a lot of times we see executives, we see successful people not able to embody those values and convert them into actual behaviors. How did you make that switch? Was it just a no-brainer, or did you have to consciously say, this is what integrity means to me, or this is what working hard or doing the right thing means to me, but in the context of this business decision or in the context of this hiring decision? What are those conflicts you faced, and how did those values help you? I want to translate those values to behaviors.
One of the reasons they asked me who should interview, I said, Shailesh. 2 reasons. One, he's a very smart guy, as you can see. He asked a very complicated question. I'm still trying to parse it. So, and the other thing is, if he interviews me, the good news is he'll speak more than me. So that's amazing. That's what you get from a really smart guy like him. Let's see, you said, how do those values reflect into how one lives their career? So look, one of the things about careers is, we grow up early in our life by being really good at something. Especially when you grow up in India. You want to be first in your class, you want to be first in math, you want to be, I just met somebody who's a gold medalist, par excellence, backstage, Venkaragavan. So we all come in to life being the best at something. And it's pretty much, for the most part, unless you're playing sport, it's taught as, so it's almost like an individual sport, right? You're competing against yourself, you're being really good. Now, at some point in time in our careers, we hit our ceiling, where you can be a great contributor, but then to go ahead in your career, you have to actually become a great leader of people or manager. So that's the most underrated shift. They don't teach you that. When you go to school, they don't go to business school, they don't teach you how to work really well with great people. So one of the first things we used to do at Google when I was there, we used to take 5 or 6, 10 people who came first in their class, and Google had the privilege of having really smart people, still does, and put them in rooms. Okay, for 1 hour you have an assignment. So all these smart kids would show up in the room and say, what's the assignment? The assignment is pick a spokesperson for yourself in this room, 10 people. 9 times out of 10, you wouldn't get a conclusion. They could not unanimously agree on picking a spokesperson because they were all brought up to win, and like 9 out of 10 people say, I'm going to lose, I have to win. That's the hardest thing to do. How do you get a group of people inspired and get them to try and win together? How do you hire people and get them to do their best? That's the hardest skill to translate from. And there, I think the biggest lesson you can learn is, don't tell people what to do, tell them why you're doing it and what outcome you want. And normally that helps you win more times than not. Because if you tell them go do this, people do that, but the problem is they don't know why they're doing it. So they're not going to be able to adapt if something changes.
Right. Okay, I hope you're all taking notes. This is really good stuff. You won't find this in any book. Sticking with this values and behaviors thing, and this is the last question on this topic, Nikesh, before we go into more business and markets and future of technology and all of that. As your career has evolved, have some of these core values been shaken? You've seen things that you always believed were true, and you've seen them not work out. For example, we will say, good guys finish last.
Good guys finish last?
Good guys finish last, right? People,
is that true?
I don't know, I want to ask you. They finish first. I mean, it's one of those things, right? So we're raised to be good people, and then do you see things that have shaken your beliefs? In other words, have some of these values been questioned over time, and how have you resolved those? And have you come up with new values over time?
It's like you're trying to tell me that as you get older, you get jaded. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe more like as you get older, you get wiser, and so you get a better context.
You start accepting gray?
Accepting gray.
Not this gray, I mean.
Yes.
Gray.
Shades of gray, yeah.
That's a different concept.
Yes,
We're not going there. Yes. I understand what you're saying. Look, it's a tough one because, yes, obviously, you're bright-eyed, bushy-tailed when you get out of college and you have a lot of principles. You aspire to those principles. You realize life sometimes is not fair. But I don't think that is enough to shake your values about what you want to do. Because if you lose your North Star because you got punched in the face, it shouldn't make you a different person. Yes, have I had situations in life where things have not worked out the way one has wanted or things have not been fair? For sure. But that's okay. The only way you're going to go through life is if you're centered around a set of values that you actually believe in. If you start adapting your values at every juncture, then you lose your identity of who you are. And then it's kind of like, what do you say? It takes a moment to lose your brand and a lifetime to build it.
That's right.
It's the same thing. So, if you have a set of core values, you stick to them and you get punched in the face, you get up and you start again. But I have a little bit of a peeve around this notion of a career, right? Like, I don't think about life as a career. I think about life as waking up every morning and have a great time. If you wake up every morning and have a great time and you go to bed on that soft pillow of yours,
that's right.
Life is good.
That's good. That's good. I mean, I don't know if you've heard this, is something I think about a lot when I'm working with Nikesh is, there was a saying I read somewhere, a good teacher teaches, a mediocre teacher teaches, a good teacher explains, and a great teacher inspires.
See, I told you, it's very smart.
No, it's just, see, some of us have,
Can you teach me how to say that kind of shit?
Some of us like Nikesh, look, some of us like Nikesh are smart and they can make this stuff up. The others like me have to rely on the wise words of other people and just memorize them and use it as a guide.
He's pretty good, he knows all this.
But this stuff about this stuff is really inspiring, Nikesh, thank you. So thank you for that, and I hope the audience, I think you agree with me that this is really amazing stuff. Let's shift gears. So, markets, business, future. You've been, and I've heard Eric Schmidt, our CEO and chairman at Google, when you were there and I was there, describe you as if I can remember the quote, says the smartest analytical businessman he has ever met. I think that is what he quoted, and I've heard him say that.
If you add enough adjectives, you can be the only person.
So,
and the tallest guy on stage.
You were the smartest businessman, analytical businessman that Eric Schmidt has met, at least. And so, we're at this conference, AI is everywhere. In fact, one of the reasons I'm here is because my name has AI in it. So I think the true visionaries were my parents. Way back when they said, one day, this kid, I don't know why they're not getting an award, but that aside. You've been known to be a person who sees around corners. I've seen you do that just in the course of our work together. What's next? Where does the market go? As you sit, not just as CEO, but you're also an investor in companies, and clearly one of the few key people who have a ringside seat to what's happening in technology. Where do you see the future? What happens next with AI and machine learning and generative AI? Is AGI going to come and replace everybody?
Look, I think this is interesting. I think if you abstract it and take out the sort of the scary parts of it and the AGI part of it, I think what's fascinating is if you go back historically, we have all been blessed, all of us in this room, to have seen multiple technology transitions, right? I remember, at least all of us remember, hopefully, when mobile phones came about and apps became a thing. Yes. I remember sitting at Google. Google is a web-based business. It was a search on your laptop. And when mobility came around, we all sat there and said, oh my God, let's have a mobile site for every one of our applications. And nobody, at that time, maybe somebody did. He actually never sat down and said, oh my God, there's going to be 10 million apps on the App Store, and majority of them will not have a web interface. It was very hard to imagine that web interfaces for applications, or effectively what we use, would go away.
Yep.
The question I have for people now is, as we sort of embark in this world of AI, which I think is amazing in a way, and we can talk about that. I'm sure Jensen did a great job yesterday, because he's the biggest arms dealer in AI for now. So it's better to be an arms dealer than be in the war yourself. So he's great at the arms dealer business. All of us have to be the app business. The question is, 5 to 10 years from now, will there be AI apps with no UI? And most people are still, what's going to happen is we're all building effectively what people are fondly calling co-pilots or autopilots, but those are all adjunct to your mobile app. Can you imagine a world 5 years from now, there is no app itself? It's basically an AI agent, which is a natural language agent, right? And by the way, will you burn the ships and shut down your mobile apps and start an AI agent app only? I think Mustafa tried it with Hello Pi.
Yes.
That was the only example I can remember for now. But I think the world will go there. And the question is, what disruption will that cause? I mean, I use this example, and this very normal example. If you look at travel apps, right? 95% of travel apps are effectively a UI in front of a travel aggregator, right? Yes. Sabre, Galileo, they have the data. The moment I buy a ticket on Expedia, it takes it off the marketplace in the back, so no other app has that ticket because it's been sold. So the data infrastructure exists in the travel industry for most travel companies to be gone.
Yes.
Like, I would rather talk to my phone and say, book me a ticket from here to New York. I want to go at 9 p.m. and I'd like to sit in the back of the plane. Maybe not, or the front of the plane,
yes.
whichever you want, right? Yes. And it's too expensive. I would love to have a conversation as opposed to fill out that form. I think all of us could design a travel form in our sleep because we all know the UI so well. But if you think about it, majority of tech product development, either in consumer or enterprise, is a bunch of people called product managers. What do product managers do? Their job is to build an interface for us as consumers or enterprise users to interact with back-end data or engineering. That's what product managers do. They're trying to figure out how is Shailesh going to use this UI to get the outcome he wants. If the computer or AI was smart enough to figure out how you're going to use it and customize the answer for you and generate UI on the fly, it eliminates 30, 40% of the work that we do as product management. So for me, that's more fascinating. In 5 years, 10 years from now, the whole concept of product management in tech will change. The whole concept of UI will change. The whole concept of how we get answers will change. Now, of course, you can go the next step and say, what is AI going to do for me, myself? I think there's a big debate now between, well, let's just call it generative AI and precision AI. Yes. Generative AI is phenomenal for the creative use case. You want to make a video, you want to write a story, you want to do it in Francis Bacon style, you want to do anything creatively, it has so much knowledge. We're past those 10 blue links, we're into summarized data. It's amazing.
Yep.
When you take it from that creative use case to the precision use case, I don't want the wrong answer. What is your name? Don't summarize the entire internet and tell me my name. My name is Nikesh, right? You have one data point, that's the right answer. Summarization doesn't help that answer. So I think combining generative AI with computational systems, with reinforcement learning, with machine learning is the entire gamut of how AI is going to impact our life. But I think there's going to be amazing fun times ahead in the next 10 years.
That's amazing, Nikesh. I think this is a crazy time we live in, and it's great to be part of this. I think some people here, many are entrepreneurs. A lot of them, I think, are running actually, many of you are running companies, and I looked at the list. Some are running bigger companies, some smaller. I've had a ringside seat to the answer to the question I'm about to ask you, but I think it'll benefit a lot of people in the room. What have you done as CEO of Palo Alto Networks to be prepared for this new journey or this new world that you envision inside the company? How have you changed the company? And this is one where I don't actually have to say anything, but I know I've seen it happen every time, but I think hearing it from you would be awesome.
Look, broadly speaking, I worked for consumer companies for a large part of my life, as a Google, as a T-Mobile. SoftBank had a bunch of consumer businesses. We invested in a bunch of them. I had never done enterprise, so I guess my sins for the last 6 years, I had to do enterprise. So when I came to Palo Alto, I was very intrigued because cyber has about $180 billion, $200 billion revenue business in a year as a subcategory of tech, and the largest market share was 1.5% to 2%. It is the most fragmented industry in tech or subsector in tech. So sat there and said, why is that? And you discover that every few years, a new set of companies show up. They build a new solution because they're obviously trying to compete, trying to block bad actors from coming in. But the older companies never innovate. So for some reason, you innovate, you sell your product, and somebody else decides to do their own swim lane. So we decided we're going to become a product company, and that's something which is very fascinating. If you look at the history of tech, most companies which have stopped innovating on product have died. Like, go back historically, think about it, and most companies that were revived because somebody came about and rebuilt a whole new product portfolio. You can talk about Apple, you can talk about Yahoo, you can talk about Sun Microsystems, you can go down the list of all the companies. The companies that have eventually died are the ones where product innovation stopped. And typically it's those people who start cost cutting and transforming them, trying to expand EBITDA and cash flow, and they forget about the innovation part of it. That's one insight. The other insight is, if you look at enterprise, as a business person, the biggest cost in enterprise companies is sales and marketing and customer support. Innovation costs you 10 to 12% on your P&L. G&A costs you 5 to 7%. 60, 70, 80% of your cost is marketing, sales, and customer support. If you can cut that by 2/3, you can run a 40% margin business. The only way to cut costs by 2/3 actually is to grow revenue so big that you can sell a lot more things to people. This doesn't matter about cyber, enterprise software, whether it's Salesforce, Palo Alto. You just need a large company to get that cost down. So with those two insights, let's make sure we never lose the innovation battle, and let's make sure we become big and bigger. So when our salespeople go and the customer says, I don't need this widget anymore, I already bought it last week. You wasted a lot of time getting the customer, convincing them that you have a good widget. So, what do you want? I got a whole truck full of stuff. And there's people like Cisco and Microsoft showed us that you show up with the truck, and you sell the whole truck to the customer, and your cost of sales goes down. So I know it's not an elegant, sexy, cool answer, but it's like cut your costs and innovate the hell out of it.
Got it. Awesome. So that's the future of tech. That's how you run a company. That's how you transform a company. You innovate products. You heard it from one of the masters. I want to shift gears now in the time we have about 5 minutes away from business to Nikesh, not Nikesh the CEO, but Nikesh the father, the friend.
My daughter's in the audience. Be careful.
Yes, your daughter's in the audience. Hi, Asha. The father, the husband, the friend. Let's talk about balance, work-life balance. What do you do? Keto juicing? You do sorry, Gen Z, explain. Do you meditate, yoga?
Your diet.
How do you keep the balance between, the Wall Street, analysts, product, sales, this and that, having to deal with people like us, and then when you go home, how do you?
I think that's a fallacy, right?
That there is a balance?
Yeah, if you ask people in the room, how many believe that their life is in perfect balance? I don't know. I can't see people's hands. Can somebody raise their hand so we can see whose life is in perfect balance?
Maybe not perfect, but just we have to have some balance. How do you?
Sample set says half a hand. I saw half a hand.
Half a hand.
So there were 2.5 hands.
It was a full hand, but the half was balanced.
I think it's a constant battle, isn't it? It's a constant battle. We're all trying to figure out. You have a big night, say, shit, I drank too much, I'm not going to drink for the next week. Or I ate too much, I'm not going to eat too much. So we're always constantly trying to figure out how to strike the balance. There is no perfect balance. I think it's a fallacy that there is a perfect balance. I think try and keep it within moderation, everything within moderation. Like, I know it sounds like, your father telling you to not drink too much or not eat too much, but we try every day. I can't say I'm great at most balanced things. I think I try every day. Some days are better than the others, between kids, between work, between life. As long as you wake up in the morning, you feel happy, you go to bed, you're happy, and none of your family's pissed off to you.
So try to stay happy and keep everything in balance. That's good.
I don't know. I apologize if there are no huge words of wisdom. There's a bunch of books out there for that stuff. I'm sure there's a whole Amazon section on how to live your life in balance.
I'm sure there is.
And that person is on a book tour.
Yes, I'm sure that is. And that person
I drink too much. I'm traveling for 106 days selling my book on balance.
Exactly. They have no time to talk to anybody because they're just making money selling their book. So, switching to your personal life, what parts of your life as a CEO, as a chairman, as a business leader, as a public figure, either translate or don't translate to your life as a father, as a friend? Are there things you take from this life that make the other one better?
Very bad
Are there
idea.
things from that
very
make
bad
this
idea.
better? No, bad idea? Okay,
very bad idea.
Keep the two separate.
Yes.
Keep the two separate.
Very bad idea.
But you don't have
a sentence starts at home,
Yes.
which says, so you think you're a CEO, it doesn't have a good ending.
Okay. But do you,
so do not bring that home. If you go home and the sentence starts, so you think you're a CEO, you know you're in trouble, buddy.
So it always starts with, honey, how can I help today?
No.
No?
You get told, you don't have to ask.
Okay, you get told. But in general, are they, as a father, as you're raising your kids, how is your experience as a CEO influencing how you interact with them as a father? Do you expect, you put them on a deadline? Do they have a quarterly business review? How are you as a dad? I just want the audience to, because everyone knows you and sees you as a CEO, as a public figure. I've had the fortune of also seeing parts, having interacted with you in your life outside of work.
I honestly, Shailesh, I think the only thing that doing work impacts your personal life, you don't have enough time for your family and your kids. So the only thing you got to go back is make sure you have enough time for them. I don't think you should bring any of your lessons from work to home. If you do that, you're in deep shit.
Okay.
Because you put your kids on deadlines, you put your kids on QBRs or OKRs. That's a really bad idea. Usually you just have to take all your dominant control A personality. It's hard. It doesn't work like that. Yeah. It shows up very often, and usually it ends up in a bad outcome.
Okay.
So do not bring it home.
Fair enough. Do not bring work home.
You have two very smart kids, I know. They're very accomplished.
Thank you. Good. Okay, we have less than a minute. I want to give you the floor, Nikesh, for the last word.
Finally.
Sorry?
Finally.
Finally. We have 44 minutes, and if you applause, I'll leave 20 seconds for applause. So you have 20 seconds. Final words of wisdom. Are there, or was there a question I should have asked you? I didn't ask. So ask it yourself and answer it for the audience.
You should have started there. Look, I think for the most part, most people in this room are very accomplished and successful, and they've achieved amazing things in life. I know there's a bunch of people who are aspiring to go do amazing things in life. As you get wiser, to use your words, it's just important to figure out what is important in life. Sometimes we get caught up in, I always joke that we are such slaves to our schedules that we almost blindly do what our schedules dictate. And sometimes it's good to step back and say, what do I really have to do over here, and what is something that I can do without? There are some people out there who are amazingly good at prioritizing what's important in life. Some of us get caught up in the throes of saying, and I don't know if some of you woken up in the morning and say, oh my God, look at this schedule. Why did I agree to this? And you feel a sense of obligation that you have to do it because you're going to make somebody unhappy. And I know it sounds a little selfish, but once in a while it's okay to look at it and say, what is going to make me happy? Because if you're happy, everybody's going to have a great time and a great outcome. Sometimes if you go do something because you think it's going to make somebody unhappy, but I'm unhappy, they'll figure it out.
Right.
So it's kind of like, don't take life too seriously. Focus on making sure that you're going to enjoy it. It's going to work out for you, and it's going to work out for everybody else.
Thank you, Nikesh. I appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Congrats on the award.